That's just a terrible take, personally.
We got shellacked.
Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for our annual edition of UATV Bracketology. I'm your co-host Shane Gini, and tonight I'm joined with the one and only Colin Morgan. Colin, how are you feeling tonight?
It's awesome. It's March. It's time for some madness. I'm ready to see some upsets and crown a champion.
Yeah, Colin, let's waste no time. Let's jump right into this. Starting with our first matchup of Auburn and Alabama State. Colin, is there much to talk about here?
I don't think there's much to talk about. The entire season, pretty much, Auburn is for one team. Now they've struggled of recent, but I think this is going to be a get-right game for them. Get their players in a groove, ready for March, and make up the run.
Yep. Colin, I agree. Let's go Auburn.
Yep.
Starting into our next matchup, Louisville-Creighton. Colin, I think you got a couple things you'd like to say about this game.
Yeah, absolutely. So Louisville-Creighton, I think, is going to be one of the bigger games in this tournament. 8 and 9 seeds. I personally think Louisville is going to be the team here. You look at their offense, it's bolstered by Terrence Edwards Jr. He leads the team in scoring, and he contributes 16.6 points per game. Their defensive tenacity is also a key reason why I think they'll be able to dominate this game, especially with rebounding.
Yeah, for sure. And the Cardinals, 8 and 4 last season on the year, coming into this year, finishing the year 21 and 2. What a great year for the Cardinals.
Absolutely.
I'm liking Louisville in this one.
Awesome.
Let's go Louisville.
All right.
Sorry to our next game, Michigan, UC San Diego. Colin, you got a couple of thoughts about this one.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people like UC San Diego. I'm not one of them. I know they've had a crazy run. I think they had like a 20-game win streak. However, they played at a very mid-level. They're a mid-major for a reason. And I just don't believe that Michigan, led by their first-year head coach, is going to get upset in the first round.
No, for sure. And one thing about UC San Diego, a lot of people are picking them because they are hot.
Absolutely.
Tied for the longest win streak in the nation, 15 games coming into March. This team moves the ball around really well. They're going to get those Michigan bigs moving. The Colin, I think we like the high.
Absolutely. I just think you look at it from top to bottom, although it is important to be hot in a game, especially coming into March Madness, I just think the overall size advantage and the experience of these players playing against battle-tested in the Big Ten is just going to be too much.
I agree. Moving on to our next game, Texas A&M, Yale.
All right, well, I think it's time to get controversial. I think we got an upset here coming up. So first off, we'll start off with the Aggies. They had a pretty good season, 22 and 10. They finished 5th in the SEC. But, however, they have lost 5 of their last 7 games, and including a defeat 94-89 to Texas in the SEC tournament. So they are not in a hot streak right now. And obviously, they have Wade Taylor, who is averaging 15, 3, and 4 per game. However, I believe that Yale as a whole, which was by far the most consistent team in the Ivy League this year, and if you look at their team overall, I think they have much more chemistry. John Polakis, he's averaging 19.2 points per game. I just think overall that team is going to come out firing.
No, for sure. And we've seen the Ivy League have success in the round 64 in the NCAA tournament. Also, a 13 seed has had some pretty good luck in fours in past history. In this Yale team, they are coming in hot. The Ivy League got their first tournament game of ever.
Yeah.
So they got a 4-team tournament. So they got the season tournament and they got the tournament win in their conference championship. I like the Bulldogs here.
Yeah, and another thing I think to look at is the Bulldogs. They're pretty proficient from long range. They shoot 38.8% from behind the arc, and in March Madness, that's when you need three-point shooting the most. If the team goes on a run, you need that three-point shooting to come back and win a game. I think a team like Yale, with how they've played all season long, they've been dominant in the Ivy League. I think they have no fear whatsoever, and they think they can go and play with the big boys, and I think they can get this win.
Yes, and Texas A&M is the worst three-point shooting team out of the top 4 seeds.
Absolutely.
So we know some of those teams are going to lose. I like a team that can shoot threes over a team that can't.
Absolutely, and I think one last little key here, whoever is going to win this game is going to have to impose their style of play, and I just think Yale from the get-go is going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Let's lock in the Bulldogs. Let's go into our next matchup. We got Ole Miss, UNC. Colin, tell me about UNC, man.
All right. I think all the headlines this week have been pretty straightforward. UNC, there's no way, and I agree, there's no way UNC should be in this tournament. They had one quad one win all year long, and somehow they snuck in over West Virginia and Indiana. Now, however, yesterday night, they had an absolutely electric game. They could not miss a shot. They were taking one-legged threes, logo threes, and it was just nothing but net. And I just don't see Ole Miss, who finished 22-11, including 10 wins in the SEC. I don't think they're going to be able to bolster this UNC team. If you look at UNC as a team as a whole, they have a terrible defense. However, their offense is absolutely electric. RJ Davis, he can shoot like no other. Obviously, senior guard, he's had experience in the tournament before. He averages 17 points per game. I just think this team can outscore any single team.
Yeah, I agree, Colin. For my notes, I've taken on Ole Miss. First note, not him. I think this team is a fraud. They haven't shown me anything in the SEC, and I really like UNC. Watching them last night, I mean, what got into RJ Davis? This guy shoots 6 for 6 for three-point last night, 8 for 12. I mean, this team blows out a great defensive team, San Diego State. They say this is a team you do not want to see in March.
Absolutely. No, I know Tom Izzo at Michigan State, they're absolutely mortified that they're going to have to probably see UNC this tournament. And honestly, if you look at it, they're in the ACC. They played against Duke. Those games were not close, obviously, except for the ACC championship game. However, I just think UNC, they are battle-tested. They are a big-name brand. They've had that experience before in the past. And this is not the first time we've seen a low-ranked Tar Heels team go far. In fact, only a couple years ago, UNC, led by Caleb Love and RJ Davis, went all the way to the finals and lost to Kansas. So I just think this is a team that could get hot.
Yeah, and let's just say for the record, Colin had UNC last night before they won, and RJ Davis is absolutely erupted.
I can tell
so
the future.
Credit to Colin. We're going UNC.
Absolutely.
Coming into our next game, Iowa State Lipscomb. Colin.
I don't think this needs to be a long conversation. Iowa State obviously plays in the Big 12 with Arizona. I had the opportunity to coverage them up close and personal and watch Caleb Love hit a half-court game-winning, game-tying shot. I think Iowa State, top to down, is the much better team. I think this is a pretty easy win.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the Gilbert injury at Iowa State later, but let's lock in Iowa State.
Absolutely.
Coming into our next game, Marquette, New Mexico. How are we feeling about that one?
I know a lot of people last year had, everyone was high on the Lobos. I personally wasn't. However, this year, I do see them being Marquette. This is not the same Marquette team we've seen in the past. I think New Mexico has a pretty good resume here.
No, I agree. This is a really good matchup, I think, though. Marquette obviously is not the team they've been before.
No.
So I can see this kind of going both ways as we were picking. I can see it being a tough one, but at the end of the day, Donovan Dent, we'll touch on him more later. I love him. Richard Pitino, Rick Pitino's son. I love the Godfather, Rick Pitino. We'll talk about him later too. But yeah, I think we both know where we're going with this one, Colin.
All right.
Give us New Mexico.
Absolutely.
Coming to our next game, Michigan State Bryant.
Again, same thing. Tom Izzo, I think this is probably his best Michigan State team he's had in the last 4 or 5 years. One could argue, and the depth, the rotation, they just have it all. Again, Bryant, mid-major team. I don't think they really have an opportunity and chance here. So I have Michigan State moving on.
Sneaky 2C Michigan State. We'll touch on them more later.
Absolutely.
Give us Michigan State. Let's go ahead and get a recap now of what the bracket's looking like. I see we got a lot more to talk about. But starting in that South region, already knocking out some teams. Let's go ahead and move on to the West region. Starting out with the Gators and Norfolk State. Colin?
Hey, so I think, obviously, Florida is probably the most consistent team all year. Obviously, Auburn and Florida are in the SEC. They're kind of going back and forth all year, in my opinion. Obviously, Alabama's in there too. But I just think what most well-rounded team from top to bottom, they play consistent on defense. They play consistent on offense. They can shoot the 3-ball. They can hit every field goals. I think it's an easy one.
Yeah, Norfolk State, I'm sorry, you got the wrong team at the wrong time. This
Absolutely.
team is hot. We'll talk more about their guards later, but Florida in a landslide.
Absolutely.
Moving on, UConn and Oklahoma. We got a little bit to talk about this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, obviously, UConn has not had the year they were expecting. Coming off 2 back-to-back champions, very hard to do. Ever since Hawaii, this team has not been able to pull it together. They did not play good in the Big East tournament as well. So I just think there is a lot for them to prove, but they do have that experience in coaching and in the players. Obviously, Solo Ball, he's a baller, no pun intended. I just think that UConn has a pretty good resume here. Oklahoma, new to the SEC, didn't really perform to expectations. However, Oklahoma is not a basketball school. They're a football school. So,
for the record, we're going UConn, but if you're Dan Hurley, you need to fear Jeremiah Fears. This is a guy that's easily going to be a top 10 pick in this NBA draft. He is one of those guys that could just come in March and absolutely erupt and take over this game. But if we're picking, it's really hard seeing
this
Dan
is one that can
Hurley
go back and forth.
lose in the first round. I like UConn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. Moving on, Memphis, Colorado State.
I know you have some injury news for us on Memphis, so I'll go.
Yeah, so Tyrese Hunter, head coach Penny Hardaway, he said that he looks like he's not going to play, but it's not official. It's looking, he's doubtful, so nothing's official yet. But this guy is the ultimate glue guy at this team. Without Tyrese Hunter, I think it's going to be hard for them to really win. I mean, that big inside, obviously they have a great team, but without him, I just don't see a way they can beat this hot Colorado State team. Colin, you can touch on that.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, Colorado State, again, not really a team I was expecting to see here. They are a 12 seed. Memphis has been really consistent all year. I actually do like them in the upset. Overall, they shoot pretty well from three. They're pretty consistent. They haven't had a lot of major wins this year, and they've had some pretty bad losses. But like you said, glue guy for Memphis out for probably this game, and who knows if he'll be there for all of March. But I don't think that's gonna matter because I think they're going home to Cancun.
I agree, and we can expect Nee Clayford to have a huge game here. We'll talk about him more later in the next round, but lock in Colorado State here. Moving on to Maryland GCU, the team is right up the road. How do you feel about this one?
Well, I know last year GCU was kind of a team that came out and surprised a lot of people. I remember I picked them last year to make a pretty deep run, but this is not the same GCU team. They do not have the same consistent shooters. And if you look at their team overall, from single individual players to a team as a whole, it's kind of regression. And I just think that, this is not their year. And they got a really good Maryland team that has been super, super competitive in the Big Ten.
I agree. And also for GCU, Tyron Grant Foster, this guy had a huge game last year at the NCAA tournament. They won a huge game. They got a couple wins, actually. But this year, he's progressed from 20 points last year per game to 14. If they're going to win anything, especially this Maryland team, they're going to need him to step up. He hasn't had a great season. I think the crab fiber too much for GCU.
Absolutely, I agree.
Moving on to the next part of the West region, we got Missouri Drake. Ooh. I think is the game of the first round. Colin, let's break this in. What are you thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, Drake, number 1 defensive rated team in the country. I mean, defense wins championships, as any coach will tell you. They shoot 35.49% from three. Again, that's pretty good. However, they average only 78.9 points per game. I do like Missouri here. They are a little bit more, they have somewhat consistent on defense, but they shoot better and they average more points per game, and they're more battle tested than Drake is.
Yes, and Drake, let me just say, they are dogs. This team is great. Easily the most picked upset of this tournament of the first round. But I have a friend at Missouri. He's actually calling this game for his student radio station. Asked them, convince me, why should I pick Missouri over Drake? He thinks that Drake plays slow. He knows that, and they're good. But Missouri, he thinks they can get out fast. He thinks that their three-point shooting can outmatch them. And he's not too worried about their defense. He thinks Missouri's going to be able to get to the line, a team that's top 10 in the nation getting to the line. He thinks that in a close game, Missouri will win this one, and I think I have to agree with them.
Honestly, the way that Drake's been handling a lot of the beef this year, I don't think it's going to go well for the school of Drake anyway, so I like that pick too.
I like that too. All right, moving on, we got Texas Tech and UNC Wilmington.
Again, I think it's another pretty simple game. Texas Tech plays in the Big 12, have a lot of experience watching them play against Arizona. Listen, they're just good from head to toe. I think the competition, they're battle tested. They've played in arguably the hardest conference this year, other than maybe the SEC. Could go back and forth on that. I don't really see this being a competition. Get your guys right, score a couple points, get some subs in.
Yep. No, for sure. UNC Wilmington, 1-6 all-time in March. This team has not made it to the tournament in 8 years. They had a great year, but 1-6 in March. I like Texas Tech. I don't see an upset here.
Same.
Moving on, Kansas, Arkansas.
Yeah, this is a pretty big game. I mean, from coaching experience to the interior play. First off, Hunter Dickerson. He has not played good this year. This is one of the few times that we've seen Kansas transfers not live up to the expectations. Kansas came in as the #1 ranked team in the country in the AP pool at the beginning of the year. They're currently unranked. They're the 7th seed. This has been I think you said this is the worst season Kansas ever had. This is their first time being not ranked in the top 4 since I don't even know when, before I was born, that's for sure. So I could see this going two ways. I think this is probably the closest game. These are both teams who have immense talent all around, although Arkansas has dealt with some injury concerns of recent. However, they are going to be getting Boogie Flan back, and they'll be getting some backcourt. But give me a breakdown of what you think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. By one stat, I'm just going to say for this game, Kansas has won 17 straight games at round 64. I really like the Jayhawks here. Great coaching matchup. It's going to be a legendary matchup, one for the ages. But 17 straight games, that's really hard for me to overlook. I like Jayhawks.
Absolutely, I agree. Like, you know, the Jayhawks, they've had a bad year. It's not been what the school and the fans have lived up to. I'm sure the boosters who are paying all that money are not happy about how this team's played. I just don't see them getting home in the first round.
Yeah. Moving on to our next matchup, St. John's and Omaha, the Johnnies.
I know you like The Godfather, so break this one for us.
Yep. Let's go Johnnies right here. Alrighty, and now we're going to get a recap. As you can see, now we got our whole South and West regions done. Let's go ahead and move on to the next region, the East region, starting with the Duke Blue Devils.
Yeah, so...
And the American and Mount St. Mary's played today. Mount St. Mary's won that game, so it'll be Duke versus Mount St. Mary's.
All right. Let's get started with Duke. I think it's going to be a pretty easy win for them. However, some update injury. As of right now, Cooper Flagg is still questionable to play. He's supposed to go tomorrow in a light, low-contact practice run-through. However, I don't think he's necessary for this. I think their team is way too deep. They're not going to have to worry about it. Sit Cooper Flagg, get him healthy for the next few rounds. You're going to need him to make a deep run. So I think this is going to be a quick, easy sweep for Duke and just move on to the next game.
I agree. A great one more game for the Blue Devils. Let's go Duke.
Absolutely.
Moving on to Mississippi State Baylor. What are we thinking here?
So, again, Baylor, another Big 12 team. BJ Edgecombe played with the Bahamas this summer in the Olympics. He is an absolute dog. He's projected to be a top 10 lottery pick in this NBA draft. And I just think when you watch him play, March Madness is built on players taking over the game when they need it most. And this is a guy who can lead Baylor deep into the playoffs. Every time he gets the ball and he wants to drive and get a basket, he can get a basket. No one can stop him.
Yeah, Mississippi State, on the other hand, third straight appearance in March, but it has not won a game in March of 2008. I watched a lot of Big 12 play this year. I like Baylor in this one. Let's go Baylor. Oregon Liberty.
Obviously, Oregon came off a final Pac-12 championship last year, had a pretty decent run in March. However, this is not that same team. I don't think that they're going to make it far. However, I don't think Liberty is very good either. Again, another mid-major versus a pretty big power conference. Oregon pretty battle-tested, ranked in the top 20 at least a couple times this AP pool this season. I think Oregon has the better wins, the better experience, and they have that playoff and tournament experience, so give me Oregon.
I like moving on to the next game, Arizona-Akron. How do you feel about this one?
Arizona, obviously, we go to the University of Arizona. This team started off incredibly, incredibly sad at the beginning of the season. Big losses to schools like UCLA, Duke. However, this team has battled back the entire time. They've given themselves the nickname the Gritty Boys, and they are absolutely the Gritty Boys. From top to finish, this team has improved. We've seen players like Awaka and Vasar take a light of their own and truly start to lead this team. Struggling from three all season, got to the Big 12 tournament and started hitting threes like there was no tomorrow. So I like Arizona in this.
Yeah, I think Akron, they could make some noise. They've won 20 out of 21 games. They are on fire, but let's go Arizona.
Absolutely.
Yeah, moving on to the next part of the East region, BYU, VCU. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, we got another Big 12 team, and I think BYU is absolutely hot. The Cougars out there in Utah, listen, it's one of the most efficient three-point shooting teams in the entire tournament. They have a great half-court ball movement, and they've had to play through an extremely tough schedule. I think some big wins for them when they went to Iowa State, and at one point they were up almost 20 in Iowa State, a very hard place to play, and they were able to finish that game strong even though they had to go to double overtime.
Yeah, I agree. I like BYU this one. I think they're too much for VCU.
Absolutely.
Moving on, let's go Wisconsin, Montana.
Again, another big team that played, a Big Ten team that played Arizona earlier this season. They can get to the free throw line whenever they want. It's like James Harden back in 2015. Like, there's no stopping him. So personally, I think this is a pretty big walk for Wisconsin. I don't think there's any real competition here.
I feel comfortable with the Badgers here. Let's go Badgers.
Same.
Moving on, St. Mary's, Vanderbilt. I personally think Vanderbilt is a fraud. They kind of remind me of this Ole Miss team in the SEC. It kind of just made it in because the SEC is so great this year, which Definitely. It is. But just kind of is like lower tier, middle of the pack team. I don't feel great about Vanderbilt. So I'm more picking St. Mary's here just for Vanderbilt, I don't believe in them at all.
I agree with you. I think we just make it nice and quick. St. Mary's moving
St.
on.
Mary's. Alabama, Robert Morris.
Again, one of those matchups that you don't have to spend too much time on. Alabama, probably the best scoring offense in the entire league. I mean, they can score 90. They could score 100 if they want to. And I just don't think that Robert Morris is going to have any chance stopping that high-power offense.
I agree. And now let's see a recap of our bracket right here. As you can see, we got one more region to go before we finish the round of 64. So let's get straight into it, starting with Houston and SIU Edwardsville.
Listen, again, another Big 12 team. I feel like we've been saying that a lot. And I just think Houston, from top to bottom, is probably one of the best teams. However, they do have the lowest percentage out of all the 1 seeds to make the championship and win and make the Final Four. So that's something we'll get into a little bit later. I think this is a nice, easy win, get the team healthy, because I know they have some injury news.
I agree. A great defensive team, too much for Edwardsville. Moving on, let's go Gonzaga, Georgia. Great game.
All right, this is a big one. Gonzaga, obviously basketball school, not had the season they've hoped for, like a lot of teams this year that I think are usually consistently in the top 4. I do like Gonzaga here. I think Georgia, again, one of those SEC teams that middle of the pack, lower kind of like Vanderbilt. And I just don't see Gonzaga's experience from coaching, from players and recruits getting beat out by Georgia.
I agree. Gonzaga, obviously a great tournament team. This is their 26th straight appearance. I don't see a team like Georgia coming in and beating Gonzaga. Let's go Zags. Moving on, Clemson, McNeese.
Ooh. I know McNeese got a locker room ball boy who is absolutely going viral right now.
Amir Aura Khan. Aura, quote unquote.
Hey, he's like Shea, he's got aura. But I just don't see them really being a competition here. I think Clemson, who almost made the Final Four last year, I don't see how they're out for revenge. They have that experience. This is pretty much the exact same squad that almost went to the Final Four last year. They're out for revenge. This is an easy chalk-up win for Clemson.
I agree. Let's go Tigers on this one. Moving on, Purdue, High Point. How are we feeling?
Again, one of those games where, although Purdue is not the same without Zach Edey, this is not that same Purdue team. They still are immensely talented with recruits, coaching, experience. However, this is a team I would be up on upset alert. They're known to blow some big games, especially early rounds, so I'd watch out for that.
I agree. Just want to touch on one thing. If you're a High Point student, I know you love your ice cream. I heard you guys get free ice cream every day at lunch from a local ice cream truck.
Catch me in the
so that's
transfer portal,
awesome,
man.
but I don't think the ice cream truck is enough to beat the Boilermakers here. Give me Purdue.
Absolutely.
Moving on, let's go Illinois, and this game's being played right now between Texas and Xavier. So depending on who wins this game, Colin, how are we feeling?
I like Illinois either way. I don't really think either team, again, Texas, another team in the SEC, traditionally a basketball school. However, they've had their down years recently, and it's not Texas football. They are not back. And Xavier, again, one of those teams that is usually pretty high in March Madness. They are not this year. I don't see them really making any competition. Illinois has got a pretty good roster, again, battle-tested in that Big Ten. I just think give Illinois this win.
Yep, give us Illinois. I agree with you. Kentucky and Troy, I'm feeling pretty good about the Wildcats here.
Again, another team that big in the SEC, basketball school. Obviously, they lost their head coach. They got a new coach. The Pope is leading Kentucky. Listen, you know what they say about Kentucky guards, so I'm not going to bet my money against them.
I agree, but let's go Wildcats here. Moving on, UCLA, BYU. I know they're one of these teams we're really hot on. Colin, give us the breakdown.
Yeah, so obviously UCLA, big school, known for a lot of NBA talent to come out of there. They have struggled of recent. However, this team knows how to play in March Madness. Only a couple years ago during COVID, they went all the way to the Final Four. Obviously, they got beat by Gonzaga and Jalen Suggs' game-winning half-court shot. So this is not unlike any territory that UCLA has been in. They've been the underdog before. I could absolutely see this team making a run. Again, they shoot 35.18% from three. That's always good to hear. They shoot 79.3% points per game. They've been battle tested in the Big Ten. Utah State haven't really had any big wins. I think this is a pretty easy win for UCLA.
Yeah, just a correction on the graphic. It's Utah State, not BYU. But I like UCLA as well. Let's go with the Bruins. Moving on, Tennessee and Wofford. I think this one's pretty easy here, Colin.
I think we can move on with Tennessee. Wofford, I'm sorry, you ain't got a chance.
I agree. I like Tennessee coming out of the SEC. Let's get a breakdown of our bracket. The round of 64, looking great. Let's go to a quick break, Colin. There's a lot to talk about.
Absolutely.
After the break, we'll give you a full breakdown of the round of 32.
I'm Kate Condon, and you're watching UATV 3.
This is Madeline Heinrich, and you're watching UATV 3.
I'm Jaden Zelm.
I'm Demetra Alarcon.
I'm Carly Siegel.
I'm Delaney Penn.
I'm Gabby Rosenberg.
I'm Rachel.
My name's Simone.
I'm Isabella Will.
I'm Avery Klein.
I'm Joey Bernal Alonso.
And I'm Pablo Rojas.
And you're watching
Welcome back to UATV Bracketology. Colin, let's waste no time. Let's get straight into it with the South Region Round 32 and Sweet 16, starting off with Auburn and Louisville.
Yeah, I think this is a game that could end up in an upset. Louisville will basically playing a home game. They'll be in Kentucky. However, I think Auburn is the more talented team, and they'll get their wheels rolling. So give me Auburn in this game.
I agree. I think the Tigers are too much right now. A lot of people are picking Louisville to win this game, but I believe in the Tigers. They lost that game in the SEC tournament, but I like Tigers here. Let's go Tigers.
Absolutely. And I think we got another upset alert coming here. Yale, Michigan. Shout out Paige Johnson, former production manager at Yale. I think Yale has got the team that could make a Cinderella run. Those Ivy Leagues have had experience in the past. Overall, the team is just an absolute baller from head to toe.
Yes, they played together, as you can see here. Great team. They know how to pass the ball around. Very experienced team. They played together for a long time. Played great in the Ivy League tournament, shooting the ball at a very high clip. It's just a great team overall. I love how they play. As you can see, they move the ball really good. Very tough three right there. The pass out to the corner. Look at that. Great team. They play really good. I like Yale in this one.
Absolutely. Same here.
Let's go Yale.
All right, UNC Iowa State. Let's dive right into it. I know there's some injury updates for Iowa State. Break that down for us.
Yeah, so Gilbert, their glue guy on this team, is going to be out for the tournament. So that's a big blow for this team. I don't feel like they're the same team without him. Their second leading scorer. This is a team that relies on a guy like that going to the tournament, that brings guys together, locker room guy. So I'm not feeling too hot about the Cyclones.
Yeah, I think UNC is going to be one of those runs. They've kind of lucked out in a way where they have a really easy path. They've an Iowa State team that's kind of battered and injured. I think they're going to squeak by and get this win.
I agree. Let's go UNC. We like the Tar Heels. Moving on, New Mexico and Michigan State.
Again, Michigan State, probably the best team Tom Izzo's had in a long time. I don't think the New Mexico Lobos have any talent to make a deep run. Give me Michigan State, quick and easy win.
I love Michigan State too. Might have it going a little far. We'll see.
Maybe see.
Moving on, here's a bracket breakdown. South region's done. Moving on to the West. Florida and UConn. How are you feeling, Colin?
I know there's probably a lot of Florida fans who aren't thrilled about this matchup. You have to go, in order to beat a champion, you got to beat the champion, and that's what they got to do. They got to beat the two-time champions, UConn back-to-back, obviously. This is one of those games where you're going to have to see Walter Clayton Jr. come up and step up and play well. This team is talented from head to toe. I think they're the best rounded team, but experience is something that obviously wins in March, and UConn has that.
Yes, and if it feels like this UConn team is not the same team. The past 2 years when they won the championship, they were a top 10 defense. This year, not in the top 50.
Yeah.
So I think this Florida team will be able to explode offensively on this UConn team. I love Florida in this one.
Same here.
Moving on, Colorado State and Maryland. Colin?
Again, Colorado State, I think they have a chance to go really far in this tournament. However, they just ran into a buzzsaw in Maryland, and I think this is the end of the road for them.
I agree. I want to shout out Colorado State's student news station, CTV 11. I watch a lot of their content. They do a great job covering this men's basketball team, but not enough to beat the Crab Five. Give me Maryland.
Absolutely.
Moving on, Missouri, Texas Tech. How we feeling?
Again, I like Missouri and Texas Tech in both these games. However, again, we talked about how Missouri could be upset by Drake. We had picked them, but I think JT Toppin for Texas Tech is going to be too much talent in order to stop them. And I just think 18.1 points per game, 9.2 rebounds. He's an absolute monster in the paint. I think give me Texas Tech.
I agree. In this game for Missouri, if they're going to have a shot to beat Texas Tech, they need Caleb Grill to get going. This guy is someone who can just come in and score threes like no other, averaging 40% from the three-point line. So if they're going to have a shot, they need to get the three-throw line as well, ranked second in the nation. But I like Texas Tech in this one. Moving on, Kansas and the Johnnies. Legendary coaching matchup right here. We got the Godfather versus Bill Self. Colin, how we feeling?
Listen, I think this is the end for Kansas. It's been a bad season all the way around. I think it just keeps getting worse. And honestly, I think they need to just go home and reset. Relook at this roster, get some new transfers, get some freshmen in, and start preparing for next year. So I give me St. John's. They've been the story of the year, and Rick Pitino has them boys playing. I think they can obviously win this game pretty easily.
I agree. I'm going to make this more about Kansas. This Kansas team has been lost, it seems like. Had a great non-conference, got in Big 12 play, did not play good at all. The Johnnies are rolling. I love the Godfather. Let's go St. John's. All right, Colin, let's jump right into the Blue Devils. Let's talk about that matchup with Baylor.
Yeah, so Cooper Flagg, obviously, he had the injury news. We'll see if he plays. I think he could skip this game as well. I would love to see him play. He's an absolute stud, obviously, big freshman this year. He's got a lot of upcoming draft stock, so he's averaging 19.6 points per game. He ranks top 15 scorers nationally. He's been absolute beast in the paint. Look at that dunk. Whew. Hey, if I'm the Wizards, I'm looking for that right there. He's been an absolute star. He's everything that Duke embodies, and I think he will lead this team to the championship. My only concern is, will he be 100% healthy? He took that heavy fall on his right ankle against Georgia Tech. I'm just concerned about that. If Cooper Flagg was 100% to play, I don't see how this team can even get stopped.
I agree. I think the Blue Devils are too much for Baylor right here. I like Duke.
All right.
Moving on, let's go Oregon and Arizona.
Obviously, Arizona has been on a roll. We played Oregon in the big Pac-12 tournament last year. We did lose. However, I think Arizona is going to bounce back. They're getting hot at the right time. They played amazing all year round. Caleb Love, the leader of this team, Carter Bryant, star freshman. I don't see how this team can get stopped.
I agree. And Oregon has just been one of those teams in the Big Ten has struggled to find quality wins. And obviously, beating Arizona would be a very, very quality win. Keyshawn Bartholomew, this is their X factor. If they're going to win a game, they need him to show up. In all games he's lost, he's averaged 6 points. So they need this guy to show up. But I think we like Wildcats in this one.
Yes, sir.
Let's go Wildcats. Moving on, BYU, Wisconsin, a very intriguing matchup.
Yeah, keep the Cinderella run going. I think BYU is going to continue. This is a team that can get hot from three. They can make every single three they want. And I just don't know that this game might be, I would take the over on this game in points because I think these teams are going to score a lot of points. I think BYU with Richie Saunders, he's going to score more than anyone else.
I agree. I love BYU here. This is a great team. And Cinderella, maybe not. Like, this is a great team. I mean, a 6 seed, if they got all the way, we'll have to figure out if they will. That would be a Cinderella. But I think for them to be Wisconsin, I think this is a team that's beating a team that's not as good. Wisconsin, very inconsistent at times. John Tonje, this guy is very inconsistent. He can give you 40 or he can give you 5. So if he comes out and scores 40 against BYU, I think they could win. But he would have to show in a big fashion for him to beat the Cougars.
Absolutely, go BYU.
Let's go BYU. Moving on, Alabama, St. Mary's, Colin.
Again, I think it's pretty brief. Alabama, the best scoring offense in the entire country. I don't think St. Mary has a chance. This is not the same St. Mary's team we've seen in the past. They've had some Cinderella runs. This is not that year. They're going to run to a buzzsaw in Alabama. I don't see Alabama not scoring at least 85.
I like your Roll Tide, Bama. Let's get a breakdown. So now we got one more region to go, that round 32 Sweet 16. Let's jump right into it. Starting off with Houston and Gonzaga. How we feeling?
I like Houston this one. I think they are a very well-rounded team. However, I would put them on upset alert. This is one of those Gonzaga teams that, again, I know we say it a lot of times in this already. Gonzaga has a lot of experience. They do not shoot well from three, though, so that is something to consider. Whereas Houston, they definitely do. But Houston's defense is so incredibly good that I don't even know if it matters if they can shoot every shot from three. I don't think they're going to get the opportunity.
I agree. This Gonzaga team, by the way, we're going against analytics here, has gone to 9 straight Sweet 16s. So this will be their first time in 9 years not going to the Sweet 16. But this Houston team is different. They're a great 1 seed. A lot of people are underrating them. But I like Houston here, beating the Zags.
Let's go Houston. Dominant in the Big 12 all year.
I agree. Moving on to Clemson and Purdue.
Again, I think a lot of people will have this game being a lot closer. I believe this Clemson team is probably the second best team in the entire ACC behind Duke. I mean, they beat Duke once already at home, obviously, and I just don't see this Purdue team being the same. They cannot compete in March Madness other than last year, and Zach Edey, their best player, is gone. Give me Clemson.
I agree. Clemson going to the Elite Eight last year, they are going to win this game. They have a lot to prove, I feel like. This team, going to the Elite Eight was kind of a Cinderella, but I feel like beating this Purdue team, I feel like in a good fashion here, beating them by a lot.
Absolutely.
Moving on to Illinois and Kentucky, how are you feeling?
I'm not feeling great. This is not a Kentucky team that has been absolute dominant. They've had some really bad losses. They've had some good wins. They're in the SEC. I understand they have a really hard schedule. This Illinois team, I also don't think that very highly. They had a terrible loss to Michigan State earlier in the year. I would give me Kentucky in this one.
Give me Kentucky, but not comfortably, like
No.
you said. I don't feel good about this Kentucky team, but I feel worse about Illinois.
Yeah.
I mean, defying Illinois, I don't know. I do not believe in them this year. I don't know. There's something about them in the Big Ten play. I think Kentucky playing the SEC will kind of give them that edge. Mark Pope's done a great job in his first year. I like Wildcats.
Absolutely.
Moving on, UCLA, Tennessee. What a great matchup we have here, Colin.
Again, UCLA, one of those powerhouse basketball schools, but I just think they're not going to get it done this year. Tennessee, arguably the second or third best team in the SEC. Again, they're gonna out-rebound. They're gonna outscore UCLA. They can shoot from the three. UCLA has not been consistent at all this year. They've had good games, and then they have absolutely fallen off a cliff at other games. Give me Tennessee.
I agree. I like Tennessee too. UCLA has gone to 3 out of 4 years to the Sweet 16, so it's a team that knows how to get there. But a guy like Sakai Ziegler for Tennessee is not letting the Bruins get past. Give me Tennessee.
Absolutely.
Now let's get a breakdown of our bracket right here. Round 32 is done. And Colin, let's take another break. Give ourselves a breath. And when we come back, we're going to break down the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. Stay with us. Welcome back to UATV Bracketology. Colin, let's get straight into it. Starting off with Auburn and Yale.
It's going to be a heartbreaker for these Yale fans. Listen, time to go do your homework. You're getting sent home. Auburn has been the best team throughout the entire season for a reason, and you're just going to finally meet your match. I don't think this team is going to have what it takes to be Auburn.
I agree. At first, I wanted to pick Yale in this game, but I think Auburn's just too much for them. And also, before we move on, Colin, I think we got a shout out for a UATV alumni.
Yeah, shout out Paige Johnson. Miss you. Wish you were here, but I love your team, but I love Auburn more. If I had to bet money on it, I wouldn't bet it on Yale.
All right, well, with that, let's move on. UNC, Michigan State.
Listen, this is a game that I know Michigan State is not excited to see. I know they wish it was any other team but UNC, who shouldn't even be in this tournament to begin with. But this is a North Carolina team that can score with the best of them. But can they stop anyone? Absolutely not. I think Michigan State has been consistent on offense all year. I don't see how they're not going to score at least 85 points. And I don't know if UNC is even going to be able to score 85. Michigan State has a much better defense.
Yeah.
I think defense wins championships. In this matchup, that goes to Michigan State.
I agree. I texted Colin last night. I was like, are we still going Michigan State over UNC after RJ Davis game? But we are. No upset here. We're going Michigan State. Beat the Tar Heels.
Absolutely.
I feel comfortable with that.
Same here.
So let's get a recap. Moving on to the West region, Florida, Maryland.
Yeah, listen, this is two Southern schools right here. I still like Florida in this. I think they're the best team overall. And I think Walter Clayton, again, 17-3. That's amazing. I don't see how anyone's going to stop that. Derek Queen obviously played good as well. He has 16-9-1. But I like Florida here.
I like Florida too. The Crab Five, what a team they've had this year. I mean, they got a great team. A player like Julian Reese, Angel Reese's brother, by the way.
Fun fact.
He's been there for a long time. This guy wants to win. The senior big inside, but I don't think they have enough to be a Florida team that's just rolling right now.
Yeah, Florida's pretty deep. I don't know if they're going to have that rotational pieces that they're going to have to need to win.
Yeah, I agree. Moving on, Texas Tech and the Johnnies. What a great matchup here.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough game. This is the battle of the Red Tide versus the Red Raiders. I like Texas Tech a lot in this. JT Toppin, however, was kind of dealing with an illness over this past weekend. I don't know the status on that, but I like St. John's, man. They roll in. It's all about stories, I feel like, in March Madness. And I just don't see a way that Rick Pitino's not going to have his team to play. I know he's going to have a fiery speech at halftime if they're losing. So give me St. John.
I agree. I mean, in a matchup like this, I am not picking against Rick Pitino. It feels like Pitino at this point is playing with house money in the Big East tournament. He said that all of a sudden it started shooting threes. This team does not shoot threes. They hit 7 in a row. And it's like, where's this coming from? And he's like, well, I tell my team not to shoot threes, but if we need to, we can. So I think Pitino is just like playing with house money, telling his guys to play defense to go to the 3-throw line. I like the Johnnies in this one. Rick Pitino, in my opinion, a top 5 coach all time. I'm making it about him. I'm making it about the Johnnies.
I know he's going to have a good suit, too.
Let's go Johnnies. Moving on, we got our breakdown now of what the bracket's looking like. And wow, that's a lot of picks, Colin. That's a lot of research, a lot of time. But I like how it's looking so far.
Absolutely. I think we should just keep it rolling.
I think we just keep going. Yep. Moving into this East region, Sweet 16 and Elite 8, I got a big matchup here.
Duke versus Arizona. This is a rematch from earlier in the year. However, Arizona, they have Caleb Love, who arguably known as the Duke Killer. I don't think he's going to show up, however, when it matters the most. This team, although they've had a great resurgence late in the season, has not played consistently against really good defensive teams, and they've struggled from three-point for the majority of the season. And I just think at some point that luck's going to run out. Also, Arizona's bigs, although they've improved a lot, I don't know if they're going to have the full strength to outplay Duke.
I agree, and I'm going to make this one all about Duke. #1 overall in KenPom rating offense. Teams that are top 3 in KenPom have an 85% chance to make it to the Elite 8. So I love this Duke team. I don't see enough from Arizona to be able to beat them. So I'm all about Duke. I like the Blue Devils. Moving on to BYU, Alabama. What a great game we have here, Colin.
Again, I like BYU a lot. I think this team has gotten hot at the right time, and that's all that really matters. Again, Alabama, they can score a lot of points, but can they stop a lot of scoring? I don't believe so. If there's any team that can go against Alabama's high-power offense, it's going to be BYU. They are obviously consistent from behind the 3, top of the key, bottom of the net. Easy, all day, every day. In the corner, good ball movement, another 3. Again, bottom of the net. This is at Iowa State, one of the hardest places to play, and they came in here and they could not miss. Richie Saunders, again, from the top of the key, and just set screen, set feet, bottom of the net. It's easy every single time. I don't know if Alabama's going to be able to close out on those 3s.
I agree. And I just want to throw us out there. The breaking point for me was Richie Saunders. His grandfather invented tater tots, so this guy can dish it. He can serve it. I like Richie Saunders. I like BYU. Let's go.
And I like that analogy.
Moving on to the Midwest region, our last Sweet 16 and Elite 8. Colin, how we feeling?
Listen, I think this is going to be probably, we've had a lot of arguably matchups of the tournament. I think this could be it. I think Houston, they're really good. However, I'm not going to go against Vegas. Vegas has them as the least likely odds to make the Elite 8, the Final Four, and the championship. I think Clemson is going to be just matched perfectly. This team has the chemistry more so than Houston, and Houston struggled recently. They have not played to their best ability, in my opinion. And I think Houston, who's coming off a kind of a harder route, is going to be hot, and I don't think they're going to look down.
Yeah, I agree. And I love Clemson in this game. Houston, I mean, they're a great team, obviously. Play great defense, but like I said, I think Clemson is on a tear. They're coming for blood, and I just really like the Tigers in this one.
Yeah, Chase Hunter's been absolutely electric.
Yeah. Moving on, Kentucky and Tennessee. Colin, what a great game here. SEC matchup.
Definitely. SEC showdown. I feel like these teams have a lot of history back and forth. Listen, Chase Lanzer, he has 17.7 points per game, 3.8 rebounds per game. He's an absolute dog. I don't see how Tennessee is losing this game. Kentucky's been really inconsistent, especially against SEC teams. In fact, they even beat Kentucky earlier this season. I don't really see how Tennessee's going to let this go.
I agree. Sakai Ziegler, probably the toughest guard in the nation. This guy does not lose without a fight. I can see Kentucky losing with a fight. Give me Tennessee in this one. So now let's get a recap of what our brackets looking like. I mean, wow. Coming down to the wire here, Colin. Moving into the Elite 8, South Region, Auburn, Michigan State. What a big matchup here.
Yeah, so for me, I think I look at Auburn. They've really been inconsistent throughout the last couple of games this season. They've struggled defensively, and they've lost 3 of their last 4. I think they obviously have won a couple games in March to get to this point, but at a certain point, I don't think it really matters. John Bromey, he has 19 points per game, 10 rebounds, 3 assists per game. Obviously, one of the finalists for Player of the Year. But, however, I think Michigan State, this again, like I've said, they have great bench depth, better so than Auburn, and I think that's what matters.
I agree. And Janai Broome, if they're going to win this game, he needs to get to his spots. And Michigan State is great at letting guys not get to their spots. He's a kind of old school player, likes to get in the post, back you down and score. I see Michigan State swarming this Auburn team, kind of what they ran into versus Tennessee in the SEC tournament. And I really like Michigan State here.
Same here.
Let's go Spartans. There it is. Moving on to the West region, the Elite 8, Florida, St. John's.
Yeah, so I know you really like your Mafia guys here, but I think Florida's going to take it out. You You know, they always say feed them to the fish. Well, I think the fish are going to be eating the Mafia here. Give me Florida.
This one's a tough one. I wanted to go Johnnies here, but Colin convinced me. Let's go Gators. But I have to say one thing before we move on. The Johnnies will not go down without a fight. Rick Pitino, this guy can coach. It would be a great story if he brought St. John's to the Final Four. But at the end of the day, the Gators are rolling. I like Gators.
And I also want to mention that Alex Condon has been an absolute stud this year, obviously sophomore forward for the Florida Gators. He's had an absolute amazing season. He's 6'11". I wish I was 6'11", but I'm not, unfortunately. He weighs 230 pounds. He's an immovable object. Top of the key, bottom of the net. He's insane. First off, he's going to back it down to the post. He's an absolute post monster. He can obviously score off the alley-oop, throws it down. Hey, man, he's an absolute stud. I don't see how anyone's going to be able to stop this guy. Again, between the legs, pull up three, bottom.
I agree. We'll touch more on their guards later.
Absolutely.
Moving on, the East region, Duke and BYU. Does BYU's run end right here, Colin?
I think it does. I think they've been amazing all season long, but I don't think this is a championship caliber team. I don't think they're going any further than this. I think they're going to run into the saw that is Duke, and I don't think there's anything stopping them.
I agree. And this Duke team, too much for the Cougars right here. Cooper Flagg, as long as he's rolling, and this team is rolling, he's not injured during the more injuries with Flagg and Murphy. Murphy obviously being out. I like Blue Devils right here.
Same here.
There it is. Moving on, Clemson and Tennessee. I think people might be surprised about this one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people is kind of a battle of the orange. We saw this in the Orange Bowl in football a couple years ago, but I just think this team is so. Both teams are very deep, but I think Clemson's just going to get on a roll. They're going to see the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and they're just going to keep going for it. They were so close last year to the Final Four, so close to a championship when no one saw them. I think a lot of people are going to have the same suspicions as they were last year, but I don't think Clemson's going to take that lightly. I think they're going to come up with an upset win here.
I agree. And Sakai Ziegler for Tennessee, a tough player. Let me give you a guy who is even tougher. Chase Hunter. This guy is made for March. He can play. Obviously, you can see here, great hands on the ball. He can score off turnovers. This guy's a great shooter off the dribble. He can do it all. Averaged 17 points last year, leading Clemson to the NCAA tournament. This guy's a great passer, great scorer. I really like him. He has been on fire as well, averaging 18 points in ACC tournament, as you see here. Look at that. This guy is a guy who can go in from three. He can beat you in and out, in the paint, at the three-point line. I like Chase Hunter. I like Clemson.
Yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to stop that.
Yeah. Moving on to our final four right here. Here it is. Michigan State, Florida, Duke, and Clemson. And let's just get straight into it, Colin. I mean, Michigan State, Florida, I mean, this is a great matchup. You have two teams that kind of play opposites of each other. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, this is definitely an interesting matchup. I think a lot of people saw this one coming up from what I've seen. Again, Florida has some pretty big wins against the Tar Heels, who Michigan State would have just last played. But if you look at the defensive ratings, you would say Michigan State is the better defensive team, but they shoot 30.8% from three.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty pitiful. I think I could go out in the gym and score at least 30%. So I think Florida overall is the deeper team. They have the best players, in my opinion. I say give me Florida.
And I agree. One really cool fact about Florida, the three guards, the main stars, Elijah Martin, Walter Clayton Jr., Will Richards. Will Martin played quarterback in high school. Walter Clayton Jr. played safety, and Will Richards played D-line. As an 8th grader, he was 6 foot, 230. Now this guy is 6'4", 206, an absolute bruiser in the paint when he gets to the hole. I love Florida. I think in a close game against Michigan State, I like Florida.
Yep. Give me Florida to the finals.
Give me the Gators, and then Duke, Clemson. Does it end for Clemson here?
This is going to be their third time matching up, and it could honestly go either way. This is the second time in 2 years that Clemson has got all the ways to the Elite Eight and is sniffing the Final Four and sniffing that championship. However, I just don't see it happening. I think Duke is the best team this year. I don't really see a way that Clemson can come back in this game and really get another win. They've already beat Duke once. They lost to Duke. I think Duke's out for revenge. They've heard the narratives. I think give me Duke in this game.
I agree. And this Clemson team's had a great year. School record in the ACC wins. They beat Duke in the ACC play. Very close game. But since they beat Duke, it's hard to beat a team twice.
Absolutely.
And I think the Blue Devils, they know how they play. They're going to go after Chase Hunter. A lot bigger team than Clemson. I like Blue Devils here.
Same here.
So our national championship, Duke in Florida. Colin, how we feeling?
Listen, I think that Walter Clayton Jr. is going to be the key piece to the Gators this season. He's obviously averaging 17.5 points per game. He's demonstrated his ability as a leader, as a contributor offensively. He's averaging 4.3 assists per game. He's effective facilitating the ball movement all around the court. He obviously also out rebounds, and he gets 3.8 rebounds per game. Look at that from the corner. He's going to set a screen here. Boom. Easy points. He's like you said, glue guy of this team, step back three. In Kentucky, one of the hardest places to play, he can't miss. He's just shooting anything he wants. Right there again, finish at the rim, easy lay.
Yeah, very good player. He had 33 points this game against Kentucky. So a very good player. Obviously, someone the Gators are going to need. He's going to need to shoot a lot of threes just like that.
Yeah, and I think he can do it, obviously.
And on the other side for Duke, Cooper Flagg, he needs to step up. The freshman, it's hard to ask for in a moment like that in the championship. But as you can see, he's going to need some crazy highlights like in this one right here. I mean, this guy can get to the rim, very physical player. He's going to need to be a bruiser against this Florida team. As you can see, he could finish in contact. I mean, this guy, I love watching him. Everyone loves watching him. I don't think he's going to win Player of the Year, but this guy can pull up. I mean, he's just a walking NBA talent. And he can get to the rim, as you can see, with that slam dunk. But the Gators.
The Gators are the best team. I've been saying it since the beginning of the show. I've been saying it all year. Gators are the best team. I think it's too much for Duke at the end of the day. And like you said, Cooper Flagg is extremely talented. How much is that ankle going to affect him? If he can't cut and get to the basket like he can and what's made him so good, I don't think there's any point of I don't think Duke's going to be what they can be, which is unfortunate because I would love to see a fully healthy Duke team versus a fully healthy Florida team.
I agree. With that being said, Colin, we're going Florida to win the national championship, the popular pick this year. We are going Florida, the Jumpman branded team. I think this team has what it takes. One of the popular picks to win the championship. Not too much of a surprise, but we like Gators. And I think they're going to be the team to beat.
Yeah, definitely going against the ESPN analysts. Analysts here, 77% of ESPN analysts said Duke was going to win it all. So we're going against the grain. I think that's okay, especially when it's March.
I agree. And when March comes madness.
Absolutely.
And just saying, this bracket, probably not going to be perfect, but I feel pretty good for our picks, Colin.
I do too. I mean, we were perfect in our college football picks. So if we can win, I'm going straight to Vegas because that's like 1 in
I
1
agree.
million
And let's
odds.
just get one more recap of our bracket here. As you can see, looking pretty good, Colin. I feel pretty good about it. I think we made some great picks and some good matchups. And honestly, I think we're going to have a lot of upsets. And I think the one that stands out here is that Clemson team.
Absolutely. I think there's one team you can point out. It could be Clemson, it could be Yale, it could be UNC. I know there's a lot of controversy within this bracket, but that's why we're in March. When in March, let there be madness.
Yep. So with that being said, Colin, we thank you so much for sitting here and watching us break down this bracket for UATV's annual edition of UATV Bracketology. And make sure you stay tuned with Delaney Penn as she will break down the updates of March Madness in the next 2 sports shows. Thank you and have a great night.